It's Saturday, 20th of February 2021. Welcome back to the Match Reaction Show on the Seasiders podcast. Today we're reacting to Portsmouth versus Blackpool at Fratton Park. And I'm John Aspinall, and this is the Seasiders podcast, Match Reaction Show. Portsmouth 0, Blackpool 1.
It's already changed the world. Small town from the north of England with a great tradition.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Seasiders podcast Match Reaction Show. Today we're reacting to Blackpool beating Portsmouth and doing the double over them. First time since the early 70s, I believe. Special guest over from the USNA. Welcome, Jeff. Hat-trick. I think it's your third cap, perhaps, this season.
Yeah, I think so. So good to be back on.
Where are you from, Jeff, for those who don't know you? Or where you're living?
Well, I'm living just outside of Aspen in Colorado, but I grew up actually just outside of London and moved to St. Anne's when I was 10. First match for Blackpool when I was 15. Got hooked.
And flying the tangerine flag for us over across the pond.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So welcome, Jeff. Welcome, Nick. As Bison's just said there, very strong quiff action. And Bison's, as we've said previously, the size of the quiff and the point is related to how high Blackpool are going, isn't that right, Nick?
This is it. It had to be spiked post match. Yeah, it's although I was reading today that hairdressers aren't going to be open until possibly April or even May. So I don't know, it's going to look like Blackpool Tower by the end of it if we're still winning.
So it's not a flock of seagulls style today, which is
no, we're in the right direction.
Yeah. Tim's here as well. Welcome, Tim.
Evening, everybody.
Welcome everyone in the stream. Welcome in the comments. Thanks for joining us, and welcome on the audio podcast if you're listening to this after the event whilst walking a dog, etc. Matt, Tim's just asked, "Are you dancing?"
I was on a little jig as the opening titles and theme music was on, so Matt obviously spotted it. I'm in a good mood.
Yeah. 8 minutes from the end, and Jerry's popped up with that. Welcome to everyone in the comments. Anyway, the coach is with us. Evening, gents. I trust you're all trusting the process. I think we are, Mr. Critchley. After that,
we are indeed.
The substitutions was spot on today, Tim. I thought, but we'll come back to that later.
Yeah. I won't be having a go at you, coach.
Welcome, Josh. 6 beers deep. Why not, Josh? Why not? Sam Muggleton is 100% trusting the process after today. Sean, what a game. Would have been silly to miss it going to Turf. Yes, Sean, you went to Turf Moor, didn't you? Sean's one of our patrons, and he's also a pro journalist now. So congratulations on that, Sean, anyway. Well done to you. Did you speak to my mate, Phil Bird? He does the comms on Claret's Player. And finally, Dennis says flock of seagulls are all bald now. So let's hope that's the way it continues, ain't it?
They are. Yeah, they are.
We don't want that spike.
Yeah.
We don't want that erection becoming floppy, do we?
Let's move on.
Right, this is a Blackpool FC match reaction show, and we are reacting to Portsmouth 0, Blackpool 1. Fine 3 points on the road for the Seasiders. So first up, as you can see on the graphic, first thing we do is analyse the lineup. So I'm going to let Tim go first on that. So Tim, over to you. Your thoughts and opinions when you first saw that lineup, as you can see on the screen. I'll just read it out for benefit of the audio. Yeah. It was Maxwell, Gabriel, Ballard, Husband, Garbett, Dougal, Stewart, Ward, Kai, Yates, and Sims. So over to you, Timothy.
Do you know that's the first time for quite a while where I've looked at the team sheet and thought that's the team I'd have picked. I was, and it's no disrespect to the players I'm going to mention, but I was concerned he was going to bring Turton in and drop Gabriel, and I thought he left Husband in at left back. But whilst obviously as we're going to go on to talk, I don't think Garb had his greatest game. I do like Garb in that left back spot. So when I saw that back four, I thought that's good. If I had it, and it proved to be false concerns, but if I had any concern, it was that Kenny Dougal needed a rest. But I'll come back to that. But other than that, that's pretty much the team I would have picked. I think it's not just hindsight as well. We said it on the WhatsApp group beforehand, didn't we? That we were pretty pleased with that lineup, and there was just enough tinkering for me with Ballard back. Ballard was a big, is a big one to get back, just because of his calmness at the back. I'm very glad to see him back in, and obviously we knew that Medine wasn't going to be fit. That game was made for him today as well, but that's another story. So no, I'm quite happy with that, and nowhere where I'm thinking, every game in the last 10, I've said, God, there's always like, why isn't he in? Why isn't he in? And there's just none of that today. Well done, coach.
Rare play, rare praise for the coach there.
Yeah.
Tim, can you just check your mic settings? Actually, I'm pretty sure it's coming in through your laptop mic. So I'll just mute you while the other two speak. Just check that. Jeff, let's come over. Let's come over to you. If we put you at the top there.
So first thoughts, I'm thinking husband for Thornley. How's that going to turn out? Thornley played okay. I mean, granted, I only watched the first half of the last match because that happens in the middle of the day here, so I can't always catch the whole thing. Yeah. But and then wondering whether they were going to go 4-3-3 or 4-4-2, which, looking at that lineup, could be either.
I've just muted Tim. There's a lot of interference still coming on your line, Tim. Jeff, we just had a shout out to you from George. Shout out to Jeff and everybody from Natter and Waterway. Yeah, Jeff is in charge of Natter and the Northern American Tangerine Association.
North American Tangerine Army, and I would say in charge very loosely. It's basically just a group on Twitter to get our North American based fans together so we can talk Blackpool when you lot are all asleep.
How many strong is that now?
Well, we've got James Guy's the one you need to get on for the raw numbers. He manages the Facebook group, but we've got 1,100 or so followers on Twitter. They're not all from North America. I'd say a couple hundred for sure.
We need to get James back on here. He's a good egg, isn't he?
He would be entertaining. You need to get
great
him
value,
on.
isn't he?
Yeah.
Right, I'll leave that to you, Jeff, to get him on. Right, Nick, over to you. What was your thoughts on the lineup?
Similar to what Jeff and Tim have said. Overall, I was pretty happy with it. I wondered, like the guys have said, how it would work out with Husband over Thornley. I know he had a bit of a wobble the other night against Rochdale, Thornley, but other than that, I thought he'd done pretty well, particularly when you think how little football he played. But it proved to be the right decision, as we'll go to talk about during the game with Husband's involvement in certainly one key moment in the first half. So overall, yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I was happy with it.
Okay. Right, Tim, are you back with us? Oh, can everybody hear that horrible hiss?
I can't see as well.
Fizzing like my Prosecco.
Do you want me to dip out and come back in again?
Yeah, if you just check your input, Tim.
I've done all that. So it's. I'll dip out and come back on.
Okay. All right, gentlemen.
After he messaged the WhatsApp group as well and said he'd don't whinge at me because I've set it all up and it's fine.
He's definitely coming on. It's very echoey. He's on his mic, so let's get Tim sorted out. Right, Nick. So, is there a lot we can say about the first half? Because not a lot happened really. We had, from memory, we had one chance. I think it was the Ellis header. Ellis Sims header.
There was the chance early on where Sims had the shot, didn't he? And it came out to Jerry Yates in the 6-yard box, and I was thinking he's going to put it in the back of the net, but it was that. A good block from the Portsmouth defender, to be fair. That was a decent chance. And obviously at the other end, they had a similar one where it's broken out to the Pompey player. And I'm still not sure how we didn't put it in. Fair play to James Husband.
Oh yeah.
On the line. It's probably just hit him, but he's in the right place at the right time. It's one of those you need to see the replay to kind of go, what's actually happened there? Because you're just expecting the ball to hit the back of the net, and 9 times out of 10 it probably would, to be fair. But thankfully, he's I think it's come off his chest, hasn't it? And I've gone out for a corner.
Tim, you're back with us. That's better. No more hissing.
There's also that Garbett free kick, wasn't there? That he bent round the wall, and I don't think it was going in, to be fair, but it was a decent free kick that he just the keeper had to tip round.
When was that? I remember that.
That was
Garbett, he whipped it
about halfway through
half.
first half.
Oh, okay. I was messing about with my connection with iFollow at that time. Probably why I missed it. So, Tim, how do you think we started the game? I was just saying to Nick, and then before he disappeared, that not a lot happened really, but we were comfortable, I think, in the first half.
I think obviously, I think just dealing and I think we saw the game uplifted in the second half, to be honest. But in the first half, what pleased me the most was that we didn't look overrun in midfield. That we have, against some sides we've looked like, particularly with Dougal underperforming as against the high standards he set himself. We seem to be chasing shadows a bit, but we weren't doing that today. And it almost felt like a sense of calm, because you've got Stewart and Dougal, and every time they got the ball, they would just do it. They were back to doing what works, which is win the ball, simple option, 2 feet, not hoofing it away, not miscuing it. They're not going to get every pass right, but that for me, that was the highlight of the first half, the fact that we were doing the simple stuff well. And to be fair, I think Portsmouth were more in it in the first and the second half. And so I wouldn't say I necessarily thought we were going to win the game, but I was pleased with the way that central midfield duo were working, because it's not been functioning quite right, has it, in recent weeks. And Dougal for me is we've talked about him having a COVID hangover, haven't we? And I think he's shed it off. I think he's had his Red Bull or whatever, and he's now back in the room.
As Nick leaves the room, it's weird. It always happens this on his Saturday, so I'm sure he'll pop up.
His missus will be watching the film or something, won't she?
She's on. Here he is. What's going on, Nick? Nick?
It's Saturday night. It's StreamYard, and for some reason on a Saturday night it just drops every 5 minutes.
Weird, isn't it?
What's going on? I was just looking at the comment. I think it was from Dennis Hutch that said, "Is the numbers behind me my Chinese order for tonight?"
What's that?
You should know what that is. That is the.
I was asking beforehand. What is that, Nick?
It's the coordinates of Bloomfield Road.
Ah, very good.
It will be framed. I'm just waiting for a frame to arrive.
Where'd you get that from?
My lovely wife found it and ordered it for me.
That's quality.
Yeah, so happy with that. Makes a change from the blinds anyway. So,
and your frilly curtains. That was your. It was also your 90s hairstyle, wasn't it, Nick?
Frilly curtains, yeah. I'll be growing them. I'll be growing them if I can't get to the barbers. Yeah.
The guy tried growing curtains. It went curly. He just looked ridiculous, so I cut it short. Right, Jeff. What was your thoughts when James Husband made that block? Given his record, I was half expecting the red card to appear.
Yeah, when he's involved in a situation like that, you're thinking he's given away a red card or a penalty here. But honestly, credit to him. He was, played out of position for the whole match. He didn't really look out of place, and he was in the right place at the right time. That's why you put someone on the line.
Yeah, bit of consternation before the game about James Husband playing the left side of centre half, but I think he did it. I think he did a great job today, and he was up there potentially for man of the match. Come in on that.
Yeah, I think to be fair, I think the whole of the back four. I mean, and there's a comment in there about that I think somebody thinks I've not thought Gabriel had a great game. As I'm going to come on to talk to, I think he's in a shout for the man of the match award. I obviously commented about Ballard specifically because he was brought back in, and I was really glad that Gabriel kept his plays ahead of Turton. So, Husband, I thought Husband was immense all game today, and he was it was more of a captain's performance from him today. I thought that where we've and I've always talked about needing captains all over the pitch, and I think we had them. We had them in the centre of midfield, we had them in the centre of defence, and we had it from the goalkeeper, and we also had it with the man who was leading the line. So very, very encouraging. But defensively, I thought we looked, other than that, a couple of incidents, I thought we looked very strong. And I mean, it's incredible what Husband did on that line, and not for it to go anywhere near his hands. And when you see the playback, it's his chest, isn't it, all the way?
Nick, you're back with us again. We were just talking about James Husband, his fine performance and the block on the line.
Yeah,
he did have a ridiculous.
Really
I think it's his. What's his style called? Is it a knot or something?
Top
man bun.
Top knot. That's it.
Seen a couple on Twitter in homage to him.
Shut that bloody dog up, Tim.
Oh,
what's his problem?
Somebody coming home, I think it will be.
Right. Let's have a talk. Let's have a quick chat about the yellow card for Luke Garber, which I thought was ridiculous, and Ronan Curtis rolling around like he'd been shot like a sniper from the stands. Jeff, I don't know what you made of that.
He was causing us trouble down that right side the whole of the first half, I thought, and he was nitpicking. He was jabbing at Garber, jabbing at Husband. He got that red card for Garber or the yellow card, sorry, because there was nothing in it. You could say the same. I forget now if it was first half, later in the first half. Couple silly yellows, really, when Sims got that yellow card for an absolutely nothing. You can't even call it a challenge. I don't know what the ref saw, but he had a wobbly performance, I thought, first half, did the ref.
What about Luke Garber then?
Well, he didn't have his best game. He was solid. I tend to like seeing him on the left side of midfield rather than as a left back. I think he offers a bit more going forward than he does defensively, if I'm being honest.
Tim, what did you think of Garber today?
It wasn't one of his best performances. We didn't have many set pieces where I think he really comes into his own with those. But he did have that free kick, which I mentioned before, where I think it was going wide anyway, but the keeper was forced to make a save, and he got a decent bit of bend on it. But it was more quietly efficient rather than stand out. So, but again, when we talked about the back four not giving Portsmouth too many chances, and he was part of that back four that was performing, wasn't he? So I think we're so used to seeing him make a positive contribution at the top end of the pitch that we perhaps just didn't quite see that. Now that could, to be fair, obviously we don't know what happened at half time. Sorry, no, I got mixed up because originally it was suggesting that he'd gone off at half time. I looked at it and I thought, he's quietly had a decent game, but not stellar. That was my immediate thoughts.
Okay. Bison's pulling no punches as usual. Luke Garbage. Come on, Bison's, that's a bit harsh.
A bit harsh, that.
Jesus.
I think he's got the bit between his teeth about Garber. I don't know why, because when you look at his contribution at the top half of the pitch, it's very, very positive in most of the games he's played. The concerns always have been how many games he does play and how many injuries he picks up.
Yeah, the Muckers are online. Welcome the Muckers. I wonder who's in charge of the account tonight. Might be Dale. Evening lads, whoever it is. Yeah, Husband, as we've just alluded to a couple of minutes ago, had a great game. But as the second half or the first half kind of petered out, Nick, didn't it? And just good to go in, I think, at 0-0 at half time. And I was just chatting to Joe on text before just at half time. I took the dog for a walk, and I'm saying to him, I think there's one goal in this game. Not sure it's going to go to. I think it might go to them, but it was finally poised, wasn't it, at half time?
Yeah, it was. And thankfully today there was no half-time bongs. Thought we came out in the second half, and we weren't spectacular in creating chances, but at the same time, I just thought throughout the game we looked solid. It wasn't attacking, free flowing football, but we were certainly in the centre of the midfield. I think Kenny Dougal was back towards his best after a few quieter performances. Him and Stewart were just keeping things broken up and ticking along. I think Jerry Yates, was a bit isolated with Sims going off. But
he was very quiet in the first half, Yates, wasn't he? You're right. Not a lot.
Yeah, but you just
to
know
be
he never
honest,
stops running.
I know, stupid as this sounds, I think he was more isolated playing with Sims up there with him. I think when we switched formation at half time, he was more involved in the game and he had more of an impact. Strangely.
Yeah, I mean, he'll never stop running. We know that, and obviously we'll come on to talk about the goal. But I think Ward and Kai were probably a little less effective in the second half as the game went on as well, which probably didn't help us. But I wasn't really thinking, they're building any sort of pressure and are going to score. There was the odd moment here and there, but it, like you say, it was one goal that was going to be the difference. And thankfully, thanks to Jerry and his magic boots, it came for us.
So at half time we've made a change. Ellis Sims for Dimitri Mitchell. I was quite surprised because I just came in a minute into the second half and I saw Mitchell on the pitch. I was like, who's he come on for? And I was surprised when I saw it was Sims. So it was a decent move by Critch. We've given a bit of stick before in the past for not changing formations and bringing subs on late, but I think he really nailed it with his substitution.
Well, Sims had also, not just after he got his yellow, had gone diving in again on another player unnecessarily. And he will say, well, I was just going for the challenge, but he could, if anything, that was more of a yellow card than the one he got the yellow card for. And I suspect that the management team were concerned that he may end up getting a red. I think he's been taken off for the yellow, but I also don't think, other than where he went down the left and got the shot off, which to be fair was decent, I just don't think he contributed enough. I think he and I think probably Critch realised that Mitchell was going to prove to be a more reliable option because you're away from home against a team. I know they're not on a great run of form, but they are fourth in the league. They've got some good players. And I don't think he gave enough for us up that top end. I said at the beginning, this game cried out for Medine. It cried out for somebody who we could play the ball up to, who would bully some of their centre backs, and hold the ball up and play the midfield players back in. And we never got any of that. Yates is a different type of player who plays with his face. He plays front to goal, doesn't he? He wants to be looking at the goal, where Medine plays with his back to the goal, and that's what we really, really needed today. And I think Critchley thought, if I can't have that, I'd rather have somebody who's going to run at the defence a bit, and which is what we got from Mitchell.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. What's your opinion of Ellis Sims? For me, he's been flattering to deceive, and then when you compare him with Medine, you can tell he's an academy player, and Medine's the experienced pro at this level. And One thing for me was when the ball was knocked to him. I don't know if anyone remembers. It was played to him and it just bounced off his head like 50p down. It went out of play. Whereas Medine, you're putting that ball up to him, it's sticking, and he's bringing others into play. I don't think Sims is that kind of player.
Well, I don't think we've seen the best of him yet. I mean, I'm not sure that the best of him is going to be much better than we've seen. But to Tim's point, I think Yates and Sims maybe are similar in that they both want to play face the goal, running in. So Yates and Sims, you're going to get the best out of them by playing them up top with Medine. I think you're going to get the best. Sims is definitely going to learn a lot more, I think, playing with someone like Medine. I think they're just, Yates and Sims are too similar. I know when he first came on, my first reaction on Sims was that he seems very similar to Nuttall, and I really haven't changed my opinion on that. Jury's out for me on Nuttall, and I hope he gets another chance. But you take him off, who do you bring on to impact up front? There was really nobody on the bench.
No,
there was nothing like for like, was there, that you could have brought on? Which is why you'd love to see Rob Apter or Brad Holmes get a shot off the bench.
Brad scored again today.
Did he really?
How much more does he have to do to get on the bench?
Yeah. To be honest, he's ahead for me. He's ahead of some of the players we're putting on the bench, or and you're never going to know unless you give him a go. And now whether Portsmouth away is the right game to do it in is another matter. But it is right. You look to that bench then, and it was difficult to see once we'd removed Sims, who really we couldn't replace him with the forward because there was no forward to replace him with. And to be fair, Critch's hands are rather tied, but we are very light in that top end of the pitch, aren't we? Maybe you could have pushed Kai up and alongside him. That might have been an option, but it's not easy, and you can't replace Medine. That's your problem. We've got nobody who can do that role.
Nick Walsh has just said same said about Apter on a Twitter earlier. What do you think's the solution there? Apter, does anyone do you know anything about him, and has anyone ever seen him play?
Well, he's more midfield, isn't he, than forward.
Came on at the end of the Wigan game, didn't he?
As capable through the middle. Go on, Nick,
I wonder with Apter and Holmes whether if the season does peter out and we're not going up, we're not going down, and there's half a dozen games to go, whether they'll get the chance then when there's a bit less pressure. Because they can't do any more than they are doing. They're both top performers week in, week out for the youth team, who were top of the league, and Brad Holmes got a phenomenal scoring record. So I think if there ends up being nothing to play for, so to speak, they may get a chance before the end of the season. And
Tim, how do you think he'd fare being chucked into the team? And maybe not Portsmouth away, for a home game perhaps. How, in your opinion, how do you think
if we were playing one of the teams near the bottom at home, I think he's listen, we've given Apter's got on, hasn't he? Apter's got on against Wigan when we've won the game, and that's the time just to start blooding them for me. It's when we're nobody's suggesting that we start them, but Michael and it's I'm not. This isn't a comparison, but Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler, plenty of other players have been playing in the Premier League at 18, haven't they? And 17, some of them. And you never know how good they're going to be until you actually play them with the first team. Because
that's saying, Tim, isn't there? If you're good enough, you're old enough.
Yeah. And and you 18-year-olds can make a significant impact. They're not too young. You just don't know whether they're good enough, and you don't know whether they're experienced enough. But the only way they're going to get the proper experience is to play those. This is why I was really disappointed we didn't play some of them when we played Fleetwood away in that cup competition, just to mix them with some first team. Instead, we brought Sarkic on, and that told us nothing, because we already knew what we needed to know about Sarkic, and that was that he wasn't good enough. So I would have played some of them. It wasn't important. We didn't matter whether we won, lost, or drew. As it happens, we go out on penalties. But that was the time to try them. And but I think it's time. Obviously Rob Apter's made the bench a couple of times now, but I think it's time that Brad Holmes made the bench. And if we're 2 or 3-0 up, we've got all these home games coming up. If we get to the point where we're 2 or 3-0 up with 15 minutes to go, that's the time to try him and just see how it goes. And
is there an argument to say, let's try him instead of Ellis Sims? Because, quite frankly, he's flat to deceive. He's scored a couple of goals against Wigan when the game's over. But he's just not doing enough for me to maintain a place in the starting 11. And
he's not our player, is he?
He's not our player. He's not our player. I think as Jeff mentioned earlier, he does remind me a bit of Nuttall as well. So,
so I think and again, I think taking Ellis Sims off ended up being the match-winning move for me, because I think what we did, whilst we left Jerry slightly isolated up front, what we did do is command the midfield in that second half. We were all over them in midfield, and it's probably the most consummate second half performance from that midfield, probably since we were playing Hull in pre-Christmas. For me, I don't think we've played better, and that's really, really encouraging. I've obviously, as I mentioned to you before, I've got something to say about where we're at and where our performance is at, which I'll bring in later. But Really, really encouraged by that second half performance. It's not just the fact we won; even if we lost, I'd have been happy with the way we played.
Absolutely, Jordan. You've taken the words right out of my mouth there. I was just going to chuck this out to the room. Kai today, Nick, I'll come into you first on this. How do you think he got on? And was he effective in the second half, playing in that role just behind Jerry Yates?
Yeah, I think certainly first half he was very involved. Getting on the ball, driving forward, getting into pockets of space. He was drawing fouls from the Portsmouth players, and more of the Sully Kai that we want to see week in, week out. To be fair, he's been playing well for probably 3 or 4 games now. So we are seeing a little bit more consistency, which is great. And then second half, he carried on. I thought towards the end, it was probably the right thing for subbing. But for me, if he's playing like that, then he's one of the first names on the team sheet, because we don't have a lot of creativity in the team, do we? Let's be honest, without CJ. And he is, on his day, a match winner. And we've started to see, I think, a bit more, like I say, consistency from him in the last few games. So it's a thumbs up from me. I think if he does that, then he should start week in, week out for me.
It's just coming from PB there. Welcome, PB. Critchley started making changes much earlier in the game than he used to, which is having a positive effect. Jeff, to you on this one. It's good to see a change happen at half time. I don't know why more managers don't do this, because if you can see something's not kind of working, why wait till 70 minutes, 75 minutes to make the change? He's seen a bit of an issue there and he's dealt with it. So it's good to see from Coach Critchley there.
Yeah, and I think the subs need a bit more time to be effective. I think we've discussed this before. You need to have like 5-10 minutes before you really get your feet under you coming on as a sub. So, and it turned out Mitchell had a hand in the goal as well. So you could say that was the match-winning change right there. First half was super tight. We never really looked under threat except for Hubby's goal line clearance. I think we looked comfortable at the back. We looked comfortable in the middle. You could say we were maybe short a little creativity. And I would say second half, when Sims came off, I did notice there were, Yates was coming out wide left, coming out wide right to pick up the ball. That front four, if you will, if you include the wingers, they need to be looking at everybody else's position. If Yates is coming out left or right to get the ball, who's going back in to fill the gap? It's like there was an attack in the second half that looked pretty promising, but there was nobody around the penalty box. We were out left, we were out wide, but there was no target. So maybe it's been a little bit harsh. We did end up winning the game, but just something I noticed, especially after Sims went off.
Hard man to please, Jeff. Tim, Dimitri Mitchell, Tom's just said there, Mitchell needs to start. He was so effective for his little touches passes when he was dropped. But we were excellent and really excited to see if he starts. He's corrected himself there. I agree with that. Mitchell was a big positive force when he came onto the pitch.
Well, what you get with Mitchell is somebody who will actually take players on and take the game to the opposition rather than pass square or whatever. And he is. I don't think we've seen enough of him really. I think he's perhaps been a bit unlucky a couple of times. I know he was due to start. Was it the Burton? Which game was called off? He was due to start one of them, wasn't he? Yeah. And was it? I lose track of it. That many games postponed. Burton it was, wasn't it? And so he was due to start against Burton, and then he wasn't starting the next game. And but I think he's done his prospects of starting the next game on Tuesday. I think a power of good with that second half performance, because we looked a better team with him on the pitch, and it's about how you blend the team to make sure that he plays, who makes way. Because again, whilst I don't think it was one of his best games. What we seem to play well when Ward's on the pitch, and it's how you blend that Stewart with Dougal with Ward, and can you get Mitchell in there as well? And where do you put Kai? I mean, the way if Medina's not fit for Tuesday night, one option is to play Kai further forward, isn't it? And that might actually then work. And Phil Ricky's spoken rather passionately, so we say, about Kai who's been played out of position. So maybe we should try him in a slightly the number 10 role and playing further up the pitch to make sure we've got Mitchell in the side as well.
Yeah, it's a fair shout.
So yeah, I'm really pleased for the lad because he's clearly got talent, and some players haven't got the game time that they deserve, and I think he's one of them.
Nick, come over to you a bit on Mitchell. Jamie Bramall's put a decent comment in there saying Mitchell offers far more than Virtue out wide, and that's hard to argue with.
Yeah, it is. But Virtue isn't an out wide player, is he?
No.
I think we know where Virtue's at his best, and it's in the centre, and there's a lot of competition for places there. I like Mitchell from what I've seen. It's it's kind of cameo performances a bit, but I think, like Tim said, he just wants to take people on, and we need more of that, particularly with CJ not being in the team. He can really break at pace, and I'd like to see him get a bit more game time because I think he could go from strength to strength. He's brilliant pace, and I think he could be really effective for us. I get why he's on the bench, and it's a great option to have to bring someone like off the bench with that pace and looking to get forward. But hopefully he'll get a run in the team at some point.
Tim, just come back to you though from that comment from Dan. Kai's best position is behind one or two up front when someone else does his defending. He's free to try things. Harking back to what you've just said there, really, and what Phil says.
Yeah, it is. But the slight problem is when you've got Medina and Yates fit, how do you accommodate him in that? Because for me, he's not in the team ahead of either of those two, and we know they are a proven formula of blending together as our two forward players. And so, to be fair, I know Coach Critchley's spoken about rotation as our salvation, and to be fair, it's true, isn't it? Because we're hitting March next week, and we're only just halfway through our season, and we've got 20 games to go, and they're going to come thick and fast. So players aren't going to play every game, and there will be games when either Yates or Medina aren't fit or are carrying a bit of a knock or whatever, and that's where I think you maybe look to accommodate Kai up front. But yeah, having a good squad and blending that squad for different games is going to be the challenge in this running, because we're not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. And maybe it's the appropriate thing. I did a bit of a calculation before, and I think we also recognise that first 7 games. I think John Earnshaw's made the point on the thread as well. That first 7 games, if you take that out of the equation, and I think we can legitimately do that because that's when we were messing around with all sorts of players who shouldn't be in there, and we've now got we bought Dougal in, we bought Ballard in, we bought the other centre backs in that settled us down. So it's 19 games now, and in that 19, sorry, I've got to drop my sheet, but. Just to break my
time, viewers. Time.
Just to break my flow. In those 19 games, we've got 33 points, which is a 1.73 point average. If we do the same over the next 20, and listen, we've lost games in there. It's not like we're just picking out a little segment where we've won. We've lost plenty of games during that period. If we carry on with that type of return, we get 76 points, and 76 points has got you in the playoffs. I ignored last season because of all the stats and the upgrading because that's false, isn't it? But for the previous 4 seasons, that got you in the playoffs every single year, and that's not us. That's not us having a mega run. That's us just continuing our form since we got Ballard, Dougal, and the like. Right. And I think we can take some encouragement from that, because quite often it's teams that come in on the blind side. Oxford have done it I remember back in '96, which is still etched in my memory as one of the biggest disasters for us.
Let's not go there.
Oxford came in on the blind side, and Oxford have started a blind side run a bit before us, haven't they? Mm-hmm. But we can do it, and we've got our performances at home in particular have been very good, and we've got a significant number of home games as compared with away games left. So, listen, I'm not overly optimistic, but I don't yet write this season off. And if we can put, we've done 4 out of 5 wins now. If we can replicate that over the next 5 games and replicate it over the next 5 games with 10 games to go, we are going to be in around that playoff spots. And I don't think, I don't think we can legit, say we could go up automatically, but we can make a legitimate claim to say that we're not out of playoff contention. And we've got CJ coming back, which is going to bring another dimension. We've lost him for 3 months. That's a massive, massive new dimension to our game when he's back.
Well, as we've talked about previously, we tend to raise our game against the better teams. We've done the double over Portsmouth. We've beaten Peterborough away. They're second. We've beaten Hull at home. We're beating the top teams, Nick. So it's really something positive that we can beat the top teams. Now we just need to beat the teams in and around us and below us, which is it's an oxymoron, really, isn't it?
It is, yeah. We do seem to raise our game against the better teams, and I think we've got quite a tough run coming up still, haven't we? Of teams who are up there. So hopefully that will continue. And like Tim says, getting CJ back, I don't think he's far away now, is he? He's back in full training. So that's just going to be absolutely massive, and it could be the difference between it not happening or us making the playoffs if he stays fit. It'd be almost like signing a new player. He's been out that long. So yeah, there's a lot to be positive about. It's a tough ask because it's Saturday, Tuesday, but there is the squad there with people coming back to be able to manage it. Medine hopefully isn't far away.
Gretterson as well.
Yeah, Viking as well.
And Pateta. So you got 4 potentially that you could be.
Happy days, boys. Happy days.
Yeah.
The only way is up.
The process.
Tom just gives us a bit of a stat there. 7 points off players for 2 to 3 games in hand. So it's all good. Let's just go back to the game then, Jeff. 75 minutes, we've made a sub. Elliot Embleton on for Sully Kai. And if you remember, Embleton had a decent chance, didn't he? He tried to curl one into the far post, and keeper's got he's had a weird punch, hasn't he? It's come back out to who was it? And then they smashed it in. Who did that chance come out to?
Does
no one remember?
I can't think. No, I don't remember.
Got tipped around the post, didn't it?
Did it come back to Garbett? Yeah. Came back to Garbett. Garbett smashed it in. It's going in. And it's come off the defender's back and gone out for a corner.
Yeah, I remember with you now.
Yeah, I do remember thinking it was the right time for a change. And, we're ragging on Critch for making too many substitutions or not enough substitutions or the wrong ones at the wrong time. But I think he nailed it today. Kai was looking tired, so it was about time for him to come off. And that's what you get with Kai. I think, when he's on form, it seems like the last few games he's been more on form than out of form. We're getting a good hour out of him. First 60, 70 minutes or so, but he never seems to have the stamina to finish a game. But I thought Kai did well today. It was a good time to come off.
It was a decent substitution. I think Embleton, he made an impact.
Yeah, both subs made a good impact. Well, I know Matty Virtue came on toward the end, but Mitchell and Embleton both made a big impact when they came on.
Tim subs, obviously. You beat Coach Critchley with this, but what's your
to coach today? I'm not worthy. Seriously, I just think every call today was the right call at the right time. There's no stupid 5 at once, 3 at once, and 2 5 minutes later. They were done strategically, and each sub improved our performance, which is what you see other teams do, don't you? You see other teams bring on subs against us, like Donny did when we played them away and we battered them the first half. They changed it, and we didn't react. We changed it today, and for me, they didn't react, and it was to our benefit and their detriment. So I'm more than happy to say that the subs were called 100% correct today.
I concur. Right, let's move on to 82 minutes in the game. Jerry Yates being wrestled to the floor, Nick. Shrugs off his assailant. The referee's about to blow, but then waves play on. And what happened next after that?
Well, it was perfect, wasn't it? Because I think I've got to mention the ref actually and say fair play to him, because he'd had a bit of a shocker up till then for both teams as well. And the linesman was flagging furiously, but he let play go. And credit to Jerry Yates as well for getting up and carrying on. A lot of players would just take the foul there, I think. And he's kept
There was nothing on. There's nothing on him when he's that
There
position,
isn't.
really, is he?
There isn't. And then, like I say, he's got magic in his boots. He's dancing feet, a swivel of the hips, a drop of the shoulder, and creates that little bit of space. And what a finish! And I think Matt Smith nailed it on the WhatsApp chat when he just said, "Isn't it great to have a player who just creates his own goals?" Like you said, there's not really anything on at that point, and all of a sudden, there's that bit of magic and the one chance and the ball's in the net. And no matter what game he's having, however frustrated he is or however isolated he is and things aren't coming off, he just has this belief that I'm going to get a chance. And when he does, and this is a sign of a good player, he's just ready for it and takes it and creates it out of nothing. And, you know, it hadn't been I can't say the goal was coming, but in some ways it's almost the perfect away performance. You're solid for 70 minutes. You restrict the opposition, and then you get your one chance and put the ball in the back of the net, and fully deserved, because he just never stops going. And it was a brilliant goal, absolutely brilliant goal. What a finish!
Jeff, what were the scenes like in Colorado when the balls hit the back of the net?
What a finish that was. Oh my goodness. It was, to Nick's point, we never looked like scoring. And then that chance comes out of nothing. And he has to hit that exactly right. It was threading the needle to get it at the angle that he got it to hit the back of the net. Embleton's coming up on his left. He decides to take the shot, and fair play to him. There's shades of Tony Ellis, if anybody remembers watching him play. You know, he had those moments where he could just make something out of nothing. Yeah.
It's a great shout. Tim, over to you on the Jerry Yates goal. One thing I noticed when I was watching the replay, there was like 4 to 5 defenders in front of him in the box, and no support from Blackpool. And he just conjured that out of nothing. What a great strike with his left foot right into the far corner.
Yeah.
It's the only place he can.
It was like the other goal, his last goal, wasn't it? When he cut in from the left, and he just doesn't give up. But on this one, he just showed, he showed strength to not to go over with that challenge. He showed guile in taking it into the box, then just dropping his shoulder, creating that little bit of space against the defender. And then, as Jeff's already said, it was an exquisite finish. And, that's ironically, while we might not have thought it was necessarily coming, the Portsmouth comms, apparently they were saying at half time, I can see this way this is going to play out. It's going to be 0-0 to the 80-odd minute, and then Blackpool are going to nick it. And they were talking about it afterwards, and they said they even wrote it down and I called it 100%. He'd actually written Yates down as well as the goal scorer, so he should have had a sneaky little bet, I think. But yeah, I listen. I don't think I can't remember the last time we had a forward player who, probably Brett, who worked as hard as he did off the ball, and he chips away, just looking for that one chance that he gets, and he's a match winner, isn't he? And he's the match winner today, and it's well deserved. And he's, when we all get back, he's going to. Well, there's a few of them out there who are going to be a little bit cult heroes for everybody, aren't they? And I think he most certainly be right up there as somebody who will be a real crowd pleaser. Jerry
Yates, you legend. He's becoming the player that we all heard about, Nick. The jury was very much out, wasn't it, on the first 7 or 8 games, and we were all saying, what does he do? He doesn't do a lot, but he's really come into, since the formation's changed, and he's just a lot of a different player.
He is, and I think even in those first few games, you could see that, he wasn't stopping running, and he wasn't getting the service, was it? It wasn't down to Jerry Yates that he wasn't scoring. He just wasn't being given the ball in the right places, and we needed that formation change for him to be able to get those chances. And when he does, you can see what he can do. But I just love the fact that even if he's not getting a clear-cut chance, he makes something out of nothing. It's like Tim says, probably Brett's the last one who we had who just put that much effort in and kept going, chasing the lost causes, and he gets his reward in the end.
Very agrees with you, Jeff. Great, Jeff Ellis. Jeff Ellis and Yates. Amax said, would love to know how many KMs Yates runs in the 90 minutes. What does that mean? KMs?
Kilometres.
Kilometres.
I was thinking that, actually. I don't think anybody put in any more distance than Jerry Yates today.
Yeah. It's a decent shout.
They don't do Optima stats. Do they do Optima stats in League One? You must be able to actually. I'll get onto that one. Sam's the type of statter who can find that stuff out. I'll see if we can find out whether there's any stats on how far Jerry runs, and I'll bring it to Tuesday night's pod.
Don't drop it on the floor, though.
I won't drop it on the floor.
Right, let's move on to the player ratings. What are we on? 50 minutes. Time fly when you're having fun and you've won, and when you've had a beer. Right, player ratings. Nick, let's start with you. Oh, no, he's Follow's day. He's just gone. Jeff, we'll start with you then. Chris Maxwell. He was a bit shaky in the first half, I thought. That one when he came for the cross and maybe the sun was in his eyes. I don't know.
Yeah,
not his best game.
I think that's been a little harsh, coming away with a clean sheet and a victory away from home.
I'll let him off then.
Didn't have too much to do, I don't think, so I'm going to give him a 7.
Need to frantically scroll down while I get my player list on. Right, Tim. Jordan Gabriel, another fine performance at right back, a marauding performance, I'll describe it as.
Excellent. He did everything today. He defended well. When he had the ball at his feet, he found feet, and he was able to get down the line as well, which I think we said he perhaps didn't get the opportunity to do as much in the last game. It's a 9. He was superb today, and he is a fully deserved 9 from me.
Dan Ballard back in the team and back. Dan Ballard did as Dan Ballard does.
Yes, I'll do this as quick as I can in case I drop off again. Clean sheet from the defence. He's not played for a while, but you'd never know. He just slots straight back in. Like you say, he did what he does. I'm going to go a very good 8 out of 10 for Ballard.
8 was in my head for Dan Ballard. The top knot, James Husband. Jeff. Jeff, you could do a top knot, actually. I think you could pull it off. How's about it for your next performance?
I'll consider it.
a tribute to Hubby.
Time we win.
Can we sneak it out afterwards?
Yeah. I said at the top, I was wondering why they put Husband gets to start over Thornley. But solid away from home against Portsmouth, top 4. Didn't put a foot wrong. If you're going to give, what did we give Ballard an 8? I think you need to give Husband an 8 too. He was solid the whole game.
Luke Garbett, Tim.
Yeah, not his his best game, but he was solid. I said that we said this in the discussion before. He was part of a back 4 that very much limited Portsmouth's chances. But we probably didn't see as much from him going forward as we normally do. So I'm going to go, and it's still a good score. 7.
7 in my head. Telepathically passing them the scores here. Kenny Dougal, Nick.
Yeah, he had a good game. I think, like I said earlier, he was back towards the type of performances we saw when he first came into the side. He'd looked a bit lackluster the last few games, but he looked back on it today. I'm going to be generous and give him an 8 out of 10.
Kevin Stewart, Jeff. Kenny's midfield partner, the 2 Ks in midfield centre mid.
Yeah, another solid game from him as well. I thought they both played really well today. Maybe nitpicking that they're both kind of a similar player. I'd love to see a more attacking midfielder with one or the other of them. But they both played really well. It's again, someone who didn't put a foot wrong, wasn't spectacular, but was making the right choices. I'm going to go with a 8 for Kevin Stewart.
Grant Ward, Tim, or as the Pompey comms kept calling him, Grant.
Yes, I think they were struggling a bit with that one, weren't they?
They're very familiar with him, obviously. Maybe he's a family friend.
Has he been on loan there at some point? Or
his brother or something?
But it was he'd convinced himself at the end, wasn't it? I think that he would. His surname was Grant. Again, I said before, I think we play better when he's in the team. I think he seems to complement other players, and we seem to get our shape always looks a lot better. Not perhaps slightly below Dougal and Stewart in relation to his overall performance.
Perhaps a bit rusty, Tim. The fact he's just coming into the team, the odd misplaced pass. But I think if you get him a couple of games under his belt, he'll be back to his best. But it was a great, very good performance.
It's a little bit like when you've got Medine and Yates up front. I think him and Dougal just seem to have a little bit of I wouldn't say it's telepathy, but it's they know where each other are, and they're always looking for easy balls and easy passes. So it's a good 7.
Not 7+.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. I 7+.
Nick, Mr. Kai. I've spelt his name correctly this time.
You have, well done. Yeah, like I said before, I think we're seeing more consistent performances from him. He got on the ball. He was wanting to make things happen. He put a couple of decent balls in as well. It's just, unfortunately, Gary Medine wasn't there to be on the end of them. And I'm going to give him. I'm going to do a Tim, and I'm going to go a 7+ as well.
All right, Jeff, you've got Jerry.
Jerry, man of the match for me. I don't think anybody worked harder. That's an easy 9 out of 10, I think, even if he hadn't scored.
And finally, to wrap things up, in fact, we'll do the subs as well. We'll do the first sub anyway because it was half a game. Tim Ellis Sims.
Weak link for me today in that side. He did have that decent shot across the goal, which Yates was unlucky not to follow up in and score. And it was, to be fair, it was well saved. But other than that, I'm struggling with the positives. I think it's been said on the thread, he was a bit of a presence up front, but the ball, he didn't keep hold of it at all. So I'm going to go 6.
Finally, I get one right. Nick, Dimitri Mitchell has played half a game, so I think it's fair to give him a rating out of 10.
Yeah, like I said before, I like him. I think he tries to get forward every time he gets the ball, breaks with real pace. I think he's quite an exciting player, and he had a decent half. So I will go 8 out of 10.
Okay, 10 for Mitchell. We won't do any of the subs. So Jeff's already given us his nomination for the man of the match, which was Jerry Yates. So let's go over to you, Tim. Who was your man of the match away at Pompey?
It's a tough one, this, isn't it? Because there's pleasantly, there's a few contenders. And I'm going to mention the contenders because I think Gabriel is a contender. And actually, I would have given Dougal a 9 as well because I think he was exceptional again today. I thought Husband was superb, but I think the work rate we saw from Yates up front was exceptional today, and his goal was quality, and it won the game. It won us 2 points, and as against the one we'd otherwise have had. So he's getting my man of the match.
Everyone watching the stream, get your man of the match shouts in the comments. We'll try and just go through a few as we're doing this. Oh, mine was James Husband before Yates has popped up. So I'm going to let you decide, Nick, while I have a quick think.
I'm going to have to go Yates as well for the reasons the guys have already mentioned. Fantastic work rate and what a goal out of nothing. As Tim says, there were a number of contenders, which is a great thing to have to talk about, isn't it? Because sometimes it's slim pickings. Like you said, Dougal played really well. Gabriel played really well. Husband, Ballard. You know, there were a good number, but I'm going to give it Jerry Yates and his dancing feet.
Oh God, it's a hard one. This. Oh.
It is. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
Max just
Gabriel
said-
had a great game.
Yeah.
Husband had a great game. Jerry. But when you're single-handedly winning a match like Jerry's done, it's hard to look beyond him. So I'm gonna give it to Jerry Yates. So Jerry Yates, my man of the match. Let's get a few comments up there. There's a lot of info there. So let's go from Gabriel Yates, husband, Gabriel, husband, Dougal, husband, Yates. Too many to mention. Where's Coach Critchley? Is he even one?
He's gave it himself.
That's a fair shout. That is a fair shout.
It's his best performance of the season, you can argue.
There is a call for that. Actually, I think the managerial decisions today were beyond reproach.
So I'm just clicking away now. Let's have a quick look at the league tables. Done one. Get that off. So Tim, 26 games played, won 40 points, was 7 behind Sunderland, who are the last playoff team, and they've played 2 so we've got 2 games in hand on them. If you look at the little graphic, 4 wins in 5 and 6 points off the players, there's a lot of reasons to be positive, isn't there?
And also the number of home games that most of the postponements we've had have been home games, and therefore, and I didn't get a chance to check that stats to exactly how many in the last 20 are home, but I would hazard a guess that there's a differential of 3 or 4 in favour of home games as against away games. So that for me is an additional positive, because where we've lost our games, it's tended to be away. I don't think is it right? Have we not lost at home since October? I think it is. I think it's correct. So I still think we'll fall a little short, and I still look back to the Shrewsbury and Bristol Rovers games over Christmas, which I think will ultimately cost us, because I think if we'd got 4 or 6 points out of that, I would be quietly confident of us making it. But it's doable. It's definitely doable, and we only have to keep playing the way we're doing. And I'm not quite sure that whether 74 or 75 gets you in this year, but 76, which is what, if we keep the average up, might just do it. But there's a lot of teams taking points off each other, which makes me think that the playoff spots, there's a couple of teams, I think we might have a higher threshold for the playoffs this year than we might normally have. You know, when you have 2 teams who run away with the league. So I think you might need 77 or 78 to get in the playoffs this year, but that's not what's happening every other year. So I think we could, we need to replicate that chart again in the next 5 games. That's what we need to do. And if we can do that, then I think we can do it.
Robbo's just said there, look at our goals for column, and it's 30. Yeah, but we're not scoring, but we're not conceding like either in 26. So you build from a solid defence, don't you? As long as you've got a solid defence, you've got half a chance in football.
Well, six of our wins have been 1-0s, which does make you vulnerable to conceding, doesn't it? We're not regularly winning 2-3, 4-0 like some of the teams are doing. And that's the part of the game we've got to work on. We've got to, because when in any game where you're winning 1-0, you've always got that risk, haven't you? And it could, and as we move into this crucial part of the season, dropping points is going to be catastrophic if you are trying to make your way up that table.
So sorry, flick that back on. So we've got Doncaster away, gentlemen, on Tuesday night, another home game. If you look at their record, though, it's not great. They've won 1 out of the last 5, 3 defeats on the bounce, and they've only drawn today. So given the fact that we're beating the teams around us, and as Tim's just mentioned, we've got a hell of a home record, it's reasons to be positive going into that. And if we can get 3 points there, it's happy days and onwards and upwards.
Absolutely.
Right, gents, I think we'll leave it there. We're on 104 minutes. So, yeah, we're going to be coming on Tuesday night with the match reaction show on the Doncaster game. So let's hope you all join us for that. Right, just before you go, everybody, please do like, please do subscribe to the channel, helps us grow, etc. Tim, did you say something then?
I did.
No, Jeff
said
did.
Donny.
Was it Jeff?
Donny away, it said then. We're at home, aren't we?
That was it.
Yeah, we're at home.
Yeah.
My bad. Just before we go, I did notice this, Jeff. Richard's just said the plant behind you needs some serious watering. So let's get you big screen.
I'll take care of it.
That?
Yeah, it is. It needs repotting, actually.
For the benefit of everyone on the audio pod, Jeff has a very limp plant to his right hand shoulder. So yeah, get yourself some. Get some aspen.
It's not looking good, Jeff. It's I think you need it needs a bit of fertilizer. I think as well.
Fertilizer. All right, we're splitting hairs now. Right, everybody. So yeah, thanks for joining us on the Seasiders podcast match reaction show. We do hope you've enjoyed the show this evening. And Bees just said, I think it's dead, mate. Jeff also looks like an MJ Williams doppelganger. He does actually.
Leggy League One plant.
Leggy League 2 donkey, Jeff. That's even more of a reason for you to get a top knot. You don't end up looking like a Leggy League 1 donkey, do you?
He's lost for words.
Silence.
Yeah, what do I say?
Volume. So we'll say ta-ra for a bit. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks for downloading. Thanks for listening. All remains to be said is up the pool.
Up the pool.
Up the pool.
With a great tradition.